JP Morosi is a loyal viewer of this show. I know you've been watching today. Good morning to you. Happy Friday. We all have different feelings, JP, about the way things were handled in Anaheim regarding Albert Pujols. What it signaled to all of us is that perhaps he's not done. What do you know?
Good morning, Lauren, and I agree with you on that point, that Albert Pujols is not done yet, and now the industry waits with excitement as to where his next stop is going to be. Perhaps there is that slight possibility of a homecoming to St. Louis, but I think, as Mark Feinsand talked about yesterday, perhaps the best option of all might be the Chicago White Sox and his former manager, Tony La Russa. Of course, the Cardinals, while that might be that emotional tug, there is no DH right now in the National League, but Tony La Russa does have that option, of course, with the White Sox. And while for Chicago's purposes, it might make more sense for them to add a more dynamic defensive player when you consider the absences of Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez, the fact is that they do want some more power. There is that relationship with La Russa. I think for many reasons that really could be a good fit. Also, I think Casey Stern has mentioned this as well, the possibility of the Mariners and there being the fit there. Scott Service, Jerry DePota, both of whom know Albert from the Angels days going way back to the beginning part of the decade. So pretty interesting, Lauren. I think there's a lot of interest in what Albert can do. Of course, his career resume, which D-Row discussed in depth earlier on in the show. We all know what he has done. And when you consider, I think, Lauren, to what you said earlier about the reaction on Albert's part indicating that he still has something to do and wants to go out maybe on a higher note than what he has done so far this season. Sometimes the change of venue for a veteran player, I go back to when Gary Sheffield was released by the Tigers. He went over to the Mets and had some good at-bats for them back during the 2009 season. You think about our colleague Jim Thome, what he was still able to do late in his career. Sometimes it's that change of scenery late, and there is still some magic there. Maybe play him against some lefties. So I think if there's any manager out there who knows how to get the best out of Pujols, might well be Tony La Russa there with the White Sox.
Hopefully that will be the case, although the peanut gallery around me, my co-host, very judgy about where you're sending Albert Pujols. We will wait and see, JP. You've been singing the praises of Adley Rutschman for years. I ask this question. I feel like it's every year. What are we waiting for?
Well, it's a fair question, Lauren, and what I believe is that there's a good chance that if Rutschman keeps playing the way that he played last night, having a great night from a standpoint of run production, we will see him in the major leagues this year. It was a very good night for him last night, again, showing that he's been able to make the adjustments. And again, Lauren, we're at a spot where even the highest ranked prospects, whether it's Rutschman, whether it's a Spencer Torkelson with the Tigers and making his pro debut in the last few days, it's a different world because of the interruption of the schedule and the lack of minor league plate appearances. You see what Rutschman grades out as. Phenomenal player, of course, has been great going back to Oregon State. So I would say that if Rutschman develops offensively, when you consider where he was as a college pick, his age a couple years ago, once you start to be 23, 24 years old as a player of his caliber, you would expect him to be in the major leagues. And I think that if he keeps developing offensively, we know what he can do behind the plate. I think, Lauren, we are going to see him in the second half of this season. And by the way,
tell me,
I think Jared Kelenic was up last night.
Yes.
I think he was up yesterday morning watching our segment, 7:30 Pacific time, saying, you know what? JP said I'm going to make an impact like Bryce Harper in the major leagues. Lauren cast some doubt on the fellow Midwesterner's thoughts, as you often do with my predictions, Lauren. I bet you he said, you know what? I want to make JP look good for a change on this show. What does he do, Lauren, last night? 2 homers. 2 homers for Jared Kelenic. He says he wants to make JP look okay with predictions.
I told D-Row that you said that. You want to know what he said? I was there.
What did he say?
JP was not. That's what he said. He also said, really, he's trading Nelson Cruz? Where's he moving him?
Yeah, Lauren, I heard that cackle cackling in the background as we went to break from D-Row saying, what? What's JP talking about? Well, here's the story, D-Row and Lauren. I'll answer it to both of you. The Twins have gotten off to a slow start. The only team that they are ahead of right now in the AL Central standings is the hometown of me, the Tigers, which right now is not a very good sign for the Minnesota Twins. And when you consider where they are at and the need to possibly look at their roster going forward, of course, we saw what happened for them in the playoffs last year. They struggled again. And so if it's not going to happen this year, if they're going to be a seller, you might as well put Nelson Cruz out there and see for whom he could make a big impact. Here are some potential trade pieces, D-Row. Again, it's early, but it is May. And around 40 games, you start to have a pretty good gauge of who you are. Cruz, Happ, Pineda, all free agents after this season. I think especially Happ with all that playoff pedigree for him. And again, Nelson Cruz, I mentioned some of the same possibilities for Cruz that I would for Albert in terms of AL teams that need a DH. I would be a little surprised to see Cruz going in division to the White Sox, but he does have some history there with the Mariners. And when you think about the Mariners' need for a bat, we saw that especially D-Row against lefty pitching. We saw it this week against Means in Baltimore. If all of a sudden the Mariners, and again, this is my favorite prediction of all time, as Lauren knows, the Mariners, okay, if their outfield ends up becoming, you call up Kelenic, you've got Lewis, Mitch Haniger, and then you maybe add at the deadline a bat like Cruz to bring in that veteran presence, the men of the sea could eventually be back in the playoffs. And why not in 2021, D-Row?
I'm going to forget you ever just said this until around July.
Yeah.
Because I think Minnesota's probably going to win the division. Them or the White Sox. That's my belief. So I don't think.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, D-Row, way to go out on a limb there. Yeah, the Twins and the White Sox will win the AL Central.
You're trading Nelly
way,
Cruz and Jay Happ. They just got their leases. I mean, Jay Happ just moved in.
Yeah, I mean, the internet just got set up probably like 5 weeks ago.
I don't even know where I'm getting dry cleaning done yet.
Yes, you do.
And you're weeding me to Oakland?
What do you think Nelson Cruz is worried about some dry cleaning?
Nelson Cruz needs to know where the good restaurant. Well, he's been there.
He's been there. He knows.
Happer needs to know.
He's been there.
My
and D-Row, that's the point. He's been there. They've all been there.
You think Michael Pineda's comfortable in Minnesota right now? He doesn't know the lay of the land yet.
This is a business, my friend. You know, were you comfortable in Cleveland in 2009 when they traded you in July?
No, don't ask him.
Please
don't ask him this answer.
Thank you, JP.
The Cubs stole a little bit of my soul after the 2008 season. How dare they trade me?
His wife said he was never the same.
I have never been the same since they moved me. With a whole bag of issues.
I just sabotaged my
JP.
segment.
I rest my case.
JP,
Oh, my!
we saw this.
Oh, no.
Hitting the streets.
Oh, no.
It's not.
JP, when was this?
No, you were just sitting on this.
How did you get into Harvard with that
That was the
headshot?
Albany Times Union.
That's how.
That's a
So
good
here's
move,
the
JP.
What do you mean? How do you get into Harvard?
So here's the thing.
They're like,
Now listen.
accepted.
So that was 2004. Now, true story. But even before that photo was shown, that's Albany Times Union 2004. That was the headshot. My hair somehow looked like that. And I had I was going to say, before I was interrupted a moment ago, the last time the Twins won a playoff game, I was there covering it for the Albany Times Union and, yes, had a full head of hair. That was the Jock Jones home run, Game 1, ALDS 2004.
Wow.
And there I was at 22 years old covering the American League playoffs at
looking
Yankee
good,
Stadium.
JP.
Not looking
and that
bad
was
right
how my
there.
hair looked.
Looked like you had some traps,
Well,
like you were getting
I-
in the gym occasionally.
I appreciate that.
Looking good, JP.
I had some hair.
Which
I had some
tie,
hair. And
shirt
that was
combination
2 years
do you like
removed,
better?
D-Row. Yeah.
Left or right?
Yeah. This was, and Lauren, in fairness, I put this on this morning and I looked in the mirror and I said, this doesn't really work, but I'm just going to go with it anyway.
I don't believe you.
And
I'm
I
a
feel
Harvard
badly about
grad.
that.
Yes, he
Nobody
is the
cares.
best.
Thank you, JP. Have
I
a great
feel
weekend,
badly.
my man.
I feel badly.
Hey, thanks, everybody. It was a lot of fun this morning. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Sponsored Element. Let's get serious.
I love it.